The best anime of 2024 was Terminator Zero. That's the end of the video, thanks for watching. Okay. So 2024 had a lot of anime that had the community talking. Many animes had carries on their season, so My Hero Academia is a good example. Season 7 was just absolutely amazing. The story keeps getting better and better and I cannot wait how it concludes. And there were some awesome debuts such as Dandadan, which met with a lot of popularity. But let's be honest, most of the others felt like it was an autopilot. Overpowered teens saving the world, isekai, and studios just pumping out content to sell merch. I mean, JJK Season 2? It wasn't that great for me personally.
Oh my god! You need to leave!
Okay, thanks for watching I guess. But then, Terminator Zero crashed in, and it felt like someone just flipped the switch. From the studio production IG in Japan, who are responsible for other anime futuristic heavy hitters such as Psycho Pass and Ghost in the Shell, which by the way I haven't seen Ghost in the Shell but is on my watch list, but Psycho Pass, the first 2 seasons, one of the best animes I've ever seen, guys, you really should watch that one. Both animes are set in a dystopian future where technology has made population life much worse than it has made it better. And so who better to make an anime about Terminator than Production IG? They came out with Terminator Zero to show anime can go back to form of unique and meaningful storylines with good pace of delivery and great character development. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about why Terminator Zero was the best anime for me in 2024, why it does bring back to form what good anime is, and also talk a little bit of how the show eerily predicted what we're experiencing now in the AI race. And if anime or general Asian pop culture is your thing, feel free to give this video a like and a subscription. All your support really helps us grow. So a quick recap of the Terminator Zero storyline. Terminator Zero is based in the same universe as previous Terminator media. It's 1997 and Skynet is in full force. But the Terminator Zero series is based in Japan, where we follow Malcolm Lee, an AI scientist that's building a competing AI model to Skynet, known as Kokoro, which interestingly means spirits or heart in Japanese. In previous Terminator media, for those who don't know, Skynet is an AI model that was made by the US government to control unmanned military hardware, including weapons and missiles, and sees America enemies as its own enemy. But that didn't last too long, as it became self-aware and made the decision that all of humanity is the enemy, and waged war by creating its own metal army and launched nuclear weapons all around the world to wipe out humanity, also known as the infamous Judgment Day. Somehow our protagonist Malcolm Lee knew this was all going to happen. I'm not going to reveal how he knew, but the dude knew, and that's why he created Kokoro, to protect Japan from Skynet's attack. But Kokoro starts seeing what Skynet sees, how humans in the past are obsessed with war and destruction, and that the only way to protect itself is to remove humans from existence. With Malcolm knowing that Judgment Day is literally a few days away, he had to do all he can to convince Kokoro that despite the war and the destruction, humanity is actually worth saving. Good luck to that guy. While at the same time, a Terminator from the future has come back to Malcolm's timeline to kill him and his family, and an agent named Eiko has also come from the future back to Malcolm's timeline to stop the Terminator and also stop Kokoro to exist, which also puts Malcolm and his own family into danger. Geez, you think the impending end of the world was enough stress for this guy, and now you got these side characters with their own side missions coming in, spoiling his show? So that's the overarching story of Terminator Zero. But why is it my anime of 2024? To me, anime is sort of becoming formulaic and standard, and I don't think I'm the only one in the community that's feeling this way. We seem to be in an era where anime often feels like a product than more of a story, and also for some reason, we're getting really hench titles for anime shows now. I mean, look at this one that's coming out. I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. I mean, it's funny, but how the hell did we get from, yeah, I used to watch Death Note, Psycho Pass, Full Metal Alchemist, to now I watch insert basically the whole blurb here. Anyways, back to the animes themselves. In recent years, anime has fallen into a pattern of relying on predictable structures. Many shows feature the same overpowered protagonist, the same recycled romance subplots, and the same reliance on safe storytelling to maximize their merchandising appeal. These animes aren't necessarily bad, but they lack creativity and risk-taking from my perspective. It's taken away what made anime so great in the past. You had unique stories such as Death Note, Naruto, Bleach, and even Berserk and JoJo that made anime so unique to the Western world that we wouldn't have heard of before. Terminator Zero broke this trend by prioritizing an engaging, well-paced narrative that wasn't afraid to challenge expectation. Instead of feeling like a show that is built to sell figures or Blu-rays, it felt like a labor of love, crafted by storytellers who wanted to create something more meaningful in an already well-defined universe. Terminator Zero introduced a gripping, character-driven narrative that kept viewers invested. The pacing was tight, and the stakes felt real, and the story had genuine emotional weight. It avoided a simplistic good versus evil storyline, and instead explored deeper themes, making the world feel more immersive and believable. Unlike so many modern anime that drag their stories out with filler episodes and unnecessary arcs, Terminator Zero respected its audience time by delivering a well-structured and impactful story. I'm not saying the story was super unique. This was a monoke, which, by the way, is an amazing film on Netflix. It's obvious the story has been done before, but the way they delivered it, and comparing to other animes in the current climate, it did stand out. And it did take risk and a direction that we'd never seen before. The storytelling in Terminator Zero echoes the brilliance of classic anime that focused purely on narrative and artistic vision. Ghost in the Shell was a cyberpunk masterpiece that prioritized philosophical depth over action spectacles, while Akira told a layered, complex story that captivated audience without the need for sequels or spin-offs. Then there was one of my favorites, Cowboy Bebop, which blended episodic storytelling with emotional depth, creating an anime that resonated with audiences today long after its final episode. The real-world edge feeds into why Terminator Zero feels so nostalgic. It's got the soul of anime's golden age. Those future-set classics didn't mess around, and this is their hair. Think Akira, Neo Tokyo's a psychic powder keg, Tetsuo's unraveling, and it's all chaos and guts, like when the Terminator tears through Malcolm's life. Ghost in the Shell, the Major is hunting the puppet master in a world of cyborgs and AI, asking questions as deep as Kokoro's chats with Malcolm. Neon Genesis Evangelion, Shinji's crumbling under mech battles and despair, not unlike Eiko's grit against impossible odds against the Terminators. These were raw, story first, no fluff, and Terminator Zero definitely followed suit. Even cult classics like Cyber City Oedo 808 from 1990, cyber criminals stalking prey in a dystopian 2808, or Bubblegum Crisis from 1987, vigilantes blasting rogue robots in 2032 Tokyo, carrying that same unpolished punch. Terminator Zero channels that, the T-800's relentless hunt, Eiko's lone wolf defiance, Kokoro's eerie growth. What these classics share with Terminator Zero is their commitment to storytelling above all else. They weren't designed as multimedia franchises, they were designed to be self-contained, well-told stories. It's not built for toy shelves, it's built to linger, proving anime can still hit like the fearless classics of old. When it comes to the animation, Production IG did one hell of a job. Yes, they did use CGI I believe, and I don't think today anime is not going to be using CGI. Nonetheless, for me, it still had care and detail given to it. Take the opening chase scene, Eiko sprinting and fighting against the Terminator, cutting through his skin, fighting against what looked like the inevitable. The details of the fight scenes and the bomb blast and that signature red eye told us that we are in truly a treat of animation. The way those red eyes glow and the streets of Tokyo in 1997 is pure cyberpunk grit. Or that moment when Kokoro's interface lights up Michael's face, all green and ghostly, is sleek and rough like the Terminator world demands. The details are insane, every bent pipe in the future ruins, every flick of Malcolm's screens, even the way the Terminator endoskeleton glints as it stomps towards the kids in that gut-wrenching attack scene at the police station. It's not just pretty, it feels alive. The future scenes where resistance fighters scrambling through rubble as Terminators close in feel chaotic and real. The past had this neo-drenched 90s vibe. Think vending machines, think crowded streets, until the chaos erupts. It's got a handcrafted weight that you see in animes from the 80s and 90s, before everything got too smooth and generic. One of my favourite animated scenes was when the Terminator was chasing Kenta, Hiro and Reika in the underground streets of Tokyo. I loved the colour scheme and attention to detail done by the animators. The darkness of the streets and the red bulbs replicating the design of T-800, the attention to detail and shadows and reflections, the scenery of a broken, forgotten Tokyo that somewhat showcases what happens when humanity is no longer around, possibly giving a glimpse of the future when Judgment Day happens. Every art style, every design choice felt like there was an intention to bring you the viewer into this world that is cold, bleak and with very little hope. But the real heart? The characters. Malcolm Lee is this genius dad who's breaking under pressure. He's not some flawless hero, He's scared, torn between saving the world and keeping his family safe. You felt it at the moment when the Terminator burst into his laboratory with his son Kenta. The Terminator demands Malcolm to open the door where Kokoro is, which at this point is securely locked up that not even a Terminator can break through. Despite threatening to harm Kenta and hearing Kenta's cry for help, you can see Malcolm going against every fibre of his body and still refuse to open the door, knowing for the sake of humanity it would be the wrong choice. Many would question Malcolm's treatment to his children and to their mother who passed away. I feel at the end of the show, with the way it concluded, viewers may not agree with his methods and treatment to his children, but it doesn't mean he was wrong in what he did or what he had to do. We know in the end why he did it all. Kokoro, the late nights, missing important dates with his family. It was because he was willing to sacrifice it all for the safety of his family and humanity. Misaki, their living maid and nanny, adds to this tender layer. She's an android who doesn't know at first, but there's a heart-wrenching scene where Kenta and his little brother Hiro finds out. Kenta is crushed, pushing her away, saying he doesn't want a robot around, convinced she's just programmed to care. But Misaki, she doesn't flinch, still shielding and protecting Kenta, Hiro and their sister Reiko with fierce determination, like she's their unbreakable protector. Kenta thinks it's her code, but for us watching, it feels like she's grown real love for these kids, willing to do anything to keep them safe. Then there's Eiko, a resistance soldier from 2022, who is sent back to 1997 to protect Malcolm Lee and his children, while also preventing the launch of Kokoro AI, which creates a conflict in the show. Was there something about Kokoro that the future of humanity only realized? Was Malcolm about to make a mistake? Eiko helped drive this sub-storyline along to build intrigue and must-watch viewing. What happened that made, or what does she know to make her so adamant that Kokoro can't come alive? Also, slight spoiler, so if you haven't watched Terminator Zero and planning to, highly recommend skipping, but for those who did watch Terminator Zero, how much of a shocker or twist was it with Kenta and the Terminator at the end? I loved how Kenta's character became even more significant. The idea that he may or may not have made that call in his timeline, which was left unanswered as an open-ended narrative for fans to be left to interpret and discuss, was just fantastic, and again, a great addition to the story and character development for Kenta. I personally don't know if he made that call, but the Terminator was very specific, so who knows? Terminators are not exempt from manipulating humans at all, so it's very well a case that the Terminator lied, or that did happen from Kenta in the future. And then we have Kokoro, the AI. It's the soul of the story, some would say. It means heart in Japanese, and that's no throwaway. It's Malcolm's counter to Skynet, built to stop Judgment Day's hell. We see it when Malcolm meets it in the lab, as it asks, "Why am I here?" in that flat, chilling voice. In the entire show, he's pleading with it to choose life, as Kokoro is becoming more self-aware and understanding of why Skynet is doing what it did. Realizes Skynet is just another weapon of humanity, and humanity has always had a history of destruction and waging war, and maybe it's time for humanity's existence to cease. Kokoro is rightfully questioning our right to live and to carry on, and Malcolm sweating, arguing it's our capacity to love, to fight, but Kokoro is not sold, constantly probing, forcing him to justify everything. The scenes with Kokoro were haunting yet thought-provoking, making us question the existence for humanity. Humanity is on trial and Kokoro is ready to judge, and so far she's not convinced that humanity is worth saving, that humanity always defaults to war and destruction. She even sees herself as a weapon rather than something to protect humanity. She questions, why is humanity worth saving? And I feel, maybe not intentionally, but this is one of the overarching themes of the show. Fear versus love. We have Fear and Eiko, who came back to stop the Terminator, but also to stop Kokoro, believing Kokoro will be just as bad as Skynet and will still start his own Judgment Day and therefore the destruction of humanity. But in the end, she overcame her fears and learned to put her trust in Kokoro to be the savior of humanity. You had Kenta, who learned about Misaki being a robot and then dismissed her and pushed her away, symbolizing again fear towards the android. But then you also have Hiro and Reiko, who loved Misaki regardless if she was an android or not. And as the show went on, Kenta did come around, believing that Misaki did really love them. Despite being made of wires, she did have a heart for them. Also, another point with Kenta is towards the end of the show, where Kenta and Kokoro came face to face. Kokoro asking Kenta to keep her alive so that she could protect humanity and trust her. She said, "I've seen the worst of humanity from Malcolm, which is no different to the worst of my kind. but from Malcolm I've seen the best of humanity, and she likes that side and wants to protect it. She asks Kenta to put his trust into her, and spoiler alert, he does choose to keep Kokoro online, choosing love and trust over fear and despair. And then of course she had Malcolm. Malcolm wasn't a character to be liked. His actions and behaviour to his children was, as mentioned, definitely questionable, and given this was the only source of humanity for Kokoro, she too wondered if Malcolm really cared for his children, really cared for humanity. When Kokoro saw what Malcolm did for his children, what Kenta did for humanity, Kokoro's decision was made that despite humanity's flaws, we are capable of good, capable of love, and that is worth saving for against Skynet. I absolutely love this storytelling. It's in a way a mirror to us at this moment in time. Would our humanity be worth saving today, given how the world is? Are we showing more love than we are showing fear? I'm not saying I have the answers. I'd like to think we are, but I do love how Terminator Zero asks these questions about us today, especially with the AI race that's now unfolding. Now let's talk about what makes Terminator Zero a bit scarily relevant in 2024 and 2025. Kokoro versus Skynet. Malcolm's pouring his heart into Kokoro, an AI meant to be humanity's lifeline, a counter to Skynet's cold, killing everything logic. Skynet's the nightmare we know, Judgment Day's architect, flattening cities like we see flashes with Aiko's team getting shredded. Kokoro's different, Malcolm's dream, a machine that pauses, thinks, even argues with him in the lab where he asks why save them. It's a showdown of ideals, control versus conscious. Even at some point, Kokoro said, rather than me being your weapon, why don't I make humanity my weapon? And here's the kicker, that's not just a cool plot twist, it's playing out in our world right now. The AI race in 2024-2025 is nuts, and Terminator Zero feels like it's holding up a cracked mirror to it. Check out the real world lineup. You got Grok, the new kid on the block, ChatGPT over at OpenAI cranking out essays, stories, pushing out what AI can mimic, DeepSeek's flexing China, racing to match the Western pace on a much cheaper budget, Google got Gemini, yep, Anthropic got Claude, which I've used and it is pretty damn good, it's probably the best one I've used so far. And there's a swarm of startups throwing cash at servers like it's a gold rush. It's not just tech nerds tinkering, it's a global sprint with insane stakes. Governments are watching, militaries are dabbing, and everyone's asking who gets there first? Who builds the good AI? That scene where Malcolm's begging Kokoro to choose humanity is like today's coders sweat over kill switches and ethic boards. It's messy out here. You got AIs writing novels, driving cars, guiding drones in wars. It's amazing but terrifying. And Kokoro's that hope, Malcolm's vision of a tool to heal, like AI curing cancer or tackling climate change. But Skynet's the warning, unleashed power, no leash, like when Aiko's future shows machine hunting survivors without mercy. The parallels are wild. Companies like to say they want discovery, not doom, but the rush is frantic. OpenAI is chasing breakthroughs, DeepSeek's playing catch up but still doing it on a real tight budget, regulators are scrambling to keep up. That moment when Kokoro hesitates, weighing Malcolm's words against his own reasoning, it's us in 2024, wondering if we're birthing saviors or monsters. Headline screams about AI risks daily, job losses, deepfakes, autonomous weapons, and Terminator Zero makes it personal. Now, I'm sure the creators didn't foresee DeepSeek, Grok, or all these AI models coming into the race, which makes it even more scary, but it's a wonderful commentary on the current AI space, and worth noting, and where it could head if all goes wrong. So why is Terminator Zero my favourite anime of 2024? It didn't just entertain me, it reminded me why I fell in love with anime. The rush of a story that grabs you, visuals that stun you, characters that stick with you, plotlines that makes you think after the show's ended, and a mirror to our own AI crossroads. I'm going to be bold in saying this, but Terminator Zero is proof that anime can still be fearless. I do respect that it's still in a universe that's very generic, but in a sea of same old tropes, this was a time machine back to when anime felt limitless, with a wake-up call for today, while still being accessible to the current market today with its pacing and sensible storyline. If you're tired of the usual isekai or shonen anime, honestly give Terminator Zero a shot if you haven't already. It's not just a great anime, it's a refreshing take on a time-traveling genre, with storytelling, character development, and its philosophical question that feel more apt than ever before. Thanks for watching, and this is just my vote for best anime of 2024. Let me know your favourite 2024 anime pick in the comments. And if you vibe with our stuff, hit that subscribe button and we'll catch you next time.